SkyNet every fourth Monday at 7 p.m. W5FC. This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
This is Inside BB testing.
ARRLNTS Net monthly at 6:30 p.m. W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, SkyNet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of SkyNet, right?
That is correct, sir.
SkyNet.
And indeed it is time for SkyNet. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's 9 p.m. SkyNet? I'll take that as a no. This is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom, Tango Oscar Mike, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC SkyNet. SkyNet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purposes are to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net, therefore please do not transmit without direction from net control, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of their transmissions. This weekly net operates on this frequency with a PL tone of 110.9er. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC Dash R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's astronomy charts, pictures, and audio-video links are available online. Simply go to the club website, Whiskey 5 Fried Chicken, W5FC.org right now for a complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. You can also check into this net electronically by going to the club website, look for tonight's announcement, at the very top, by the way, and click on the hot link, which is directly below the picture, and we'll check you in. Now, don't worry, you can still check in by voice if you'd like, as we will continue. Operators are welcome to this net, and remember, let me try again. It's been a year and a half since I've done this. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is divided into several sections. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries, discussion topic of the evening was space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and the 73 round. We'll see if we may or may not get to all of those. I'll now take check-ins from short time folks. These would be individuals that will be leaving the net before our conclusion now and may have an announcement. So here we go. Any short time check-ins, please come now. I don't hear anyone there. Let me go ahead and acknowledge the check-ins electronically. We have K5MCD, Cody in Dallas, myself, KE5ICX, I'm down in Corpus Christi, KF5JHA, that's Chaz and Bob the Cat, near Town East Mall, AG9SG, Antonio in Dallas, N5LIG, Dale in Mississippi tonight, AA5AH, Robert and Richardson, KI5PGM, that's Travis and McKinney, and N5BB, Bill in Irving. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, far northeast Dallas, with that email information, Tom.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Ranch.
November 1, Delta Fox Whiskey, Jim in Kelton.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Whiskey Victor Lima, James in North Carrollton.
All right, we have a pause in the action. I'll go ahead and check those folks in. I've got W5GUS, Gus, far Northeast Dallas, NV5F, Virginia, Fort Worth, KF5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch, N1DFW, nice call, Jim, over in Carrollton, KG5 Whiskey Victor Lima, that's James in North Carrollton. Additional check-ins, please come now. Okay, I got one lonely station out there. Your audio was very low. Could you speak up a little bit? I'm over on Echolink, so it's going to be even more difficult for me. Try again, please. All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move to Echolink. I think everybody is checked in, but if you've scrolled off the screen or I haven't recognized you over on Echolink, I'll give you some time right now. Echolink only or All-Star Link if you're connected that way. Please come now. Okay, I think everyone's checked in, so we'll just go ahead and continue. I will now take check-ins in any mode, anywhere. If you'd like to join us and have not done so already in one of the various means, I'll take you by voice right now. Please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, we've heard none. I know there's some Chicago and Green Bay on tonight. I'd like to see it, but I'm doing this instead. So here we go. We'll go ahead and get started with general announcements this evening. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronautical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Please come now. Okay, this can be a quiet net this evening. Let me see. I've got a couple of announcements myself. SkyNet, that's the net you're listening to right now, is looking for volunteers. If you'd like to contribute to this net, either with content or by reading articles or providing your expertise in radio, astronomy, space, or space exploration on a weekly, monthly, or periodic basis, volunteer once, volunteer many times. It's up to you. We need your help. Please contact us. If you're not sure about the what or when, or whether you even want to commit, go ahead and contact us anyway. We'll talk about it a little bit and find out if we can fit you in somewhere on some topic that you're particularly interested in, or some subject that you're pretty conversant in and would like to share with others. You can send an email to me, Tom, at my call sign, which is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray. That's KE5ICX at yahoo.com. Don't wait. Do it now. If you'd like to volunteer, say, I volunteer, and send it to me, and I'll look at it right now. We also have an immediate need, I believe, for Ham Fixin's Net NCS. Your job, call the net once or even twice on Mondays each month. That's just twice a month. Please contact Randy, Kilo Echo 5 Juliet India Tango at yahoo.com. That's KE5JIT at yahoo.com. It's easy and it's delicious fun. Does anyone need any fills? Okay, moving on to our usual announcements. The AMSAT Amateur Radio Satellite Group has 3 nets available to Dallas residents. Tuesday evenings are the big ones at 8 p.m. You can check into the National AMSAT net. That's over Echolink, amateur satellites, and what you need to know about them in amateur radio. The National AMSAT net will bring the most up-to-date information on amateur satellites currently in use or new ones that are coming online. You can check in via Echolink with Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. There's also a live audio link available on their website, which is amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas on VHF. 2 local nets are available in Dallas. Both of these nets encourage active check-ins. You can ask questions of the net control and others who are checked in. AMSAT Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater. Tuesday, Tom N5HYP is the net control. All are welcome to check in. It's the first Tuesday of the month is DARC Club Night, so there is no net on that evening. However, you can catch, if you miss Tuesday or there isn't a net, you can go on Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater. That's at 147.140 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9er. With a positive offset. The DARC hosts a number of nets on Monday evenings. You can check into any of them. It's an alternating net at 7 p.m. We have coming up a second helping of Ham Fixin's. Ham Fixin's Net. Bring your favorite or new recipes, cooking tips, or techniques. We even wouldn't mind a good restaurant review or two. Just make sure you eat something before the net because you'll get hungry. there are other nets, you can always go to the W5FC.org website and get information on all of that. There is the Saturday nets. We know that you probably are already aware of TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. This is all things having to do with amateur radio. SkyNet, astronomy, space, and space exploration at 9 to 10:30, and the Afterglow Movie Net, where we talk about it. We watch a movie and then we talk about it. I'll be bringing up information on that in a little bit. So by all means, check in on a Saturday night and enjoy an entire evening of nets, starting at 6:30 and going all the way till midnight. Okay, let's see. We have daily the ARRL National Traffic System Training Net. That's at 6:30. Learn how to handle message traffic on this formal training net. This is a training net, therefore newbies are always welcome and you can do no wrong. There's also an NTS net on the Irving repeater, WA5CKF at 146.72 megahertz at 9:30 p.m. All are welcome. Now, tonight's Afterglow Movie Net is as follows for my highly accurate information. The Twilight Zone, Christmas 1985. Listen carefully, kids. Harlan looked at the actors, all of whom appeared confused, and snarled at them, as only Harlan could. Being the science fiction writer of the ages, he was known to key people's cars whenever they referred to him as
Tom, we've lost you. K5ICX inside DB.
All right, thank you, Bill. I wondered if there was a timeout. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. No problem. So maybe keep your transmission short inside DB.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And the good news is that I've got full duplex here, so I could actually hear you even though I thought I was still transmitting. So let me know when that happens. I'm going to try and break this up a little more. Okay, Twilight Zone, let's see. As was his M.O., he gleefully directed a killer Santa Claus joyfully... Oh, as was his own... Now I'm mixed up here. Let's start over again. Let's try one more time. Harlan looked at the actors, all of whom looked confused and snarled at them, as only Harlan could. Being the science fiction writer of the ages, he was known to key people's cars whenever they referred to him as the guy who wrote science fiction. But today was different. He was directing something most writers never did. And not just any production, it was the Twilight Zone. Not from the 60s, but 1985, a revival series with planned charming Christmas episode. As was his M.O., he gleefully directed a killer Santa Claus, joyfully yelling at frightened children. Harlan shouted, "The children should look terrified. Do I have to come over there and show you what terrified looks like?" He drew up his full 4-foot stature, his fur on end, and he threw his whiskey bottle at the performers, hissing. The studio phone rang, interrupting his tirade. It was the network. Dailies were in from the day before, and never in the history of such things was a disclaimer placed at the beginning of raw footage. On screen, warning, the following raw footage contains something offensive to just about everyone. Executive direction is advised. The phone call had everything to do with it. Security was called, and Harlan was secretly given a shot. When he woke up, he was somewhere in West Hollywood, in an alley. The network had already replaced the writer-director, and a new bunch of Christmas stories were well on their way to the TV near you. Night of the Meek by Can She Type and The Star. Join us for the threesome Twilight Zone for tonight at 10:30 p.m. And believe it or not, that story that I told you, which was kind of sounded far-fetched was more true than you might imagine, and we'll be talking about that this evening. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, W5FC.org. Okay, let's see if anyone new has checked in. I do have one over on Echolink, A15SR. That's Swan in Carrollton. Do I have anyone else on audio that'd like to check in, or Echolink for that matter? And I do see Echolink on there. Anyone who would like to check in, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, very good. I did pick up one. That would be Patrick. He's over on Echolink, KG5APL. He typed it in. He's over in Richardson. I've got you checked in. Okay, we'll move on to the next section of the net. This is additional announcements. This is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. That would be Chaz, KF5JHA. Chaz, what do you have for us this evening?
Good evening, everyone. I hope I'm coming through all right. Oh, yes, I'm hearing myself over on Echolink. It's a repeating thing. Hold on, I need to turn down the volume here. All right. On January 23rd, 2026, is the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also held on Zoom. The featured speaker is going to be Dr. Philip Anderson of UTD, University of Texas at Dallas. His topic is going to be about space weather. That's been an active thing recently, so that's going to be fun. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas hosts Saturday night public observing sessions in the area. SkyNet was picked to be on Saturday night so that there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. On the third Saturday of the month, that's tonight, the stargazing is held at Cedar Hill. Do we have a ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? Please come now with your call sign. Well, it was nice and clear earlier. They're probably going to look at the crescent moon and a few other things in the sky. Saturn, Jupiter. Oh, there's a lot of things to see in the sky. Nebula. Oh, yeah. You can check the TASS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5JHA, back to our net control, KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Chaz, and this is KE5ICX. Next is the National Space Society events and activities. That will be presented by Bill, N5BB. Bill, what do you have for us this evening?
Hey, thank you, Tom. This is N5BB. By the way, on a net control kind of note, I just a few seconds ago pasted in my copy for tonight for NSS, but there was already some other copy in there that looked like was accidentally put in there about Apollo 17. It's just 2 sentences, so you might look right before the discussion topic of the evening, and there's a paragraph that evidently was incorrectly pasted. Anyway, the national, again, my call is N5BB, and I am the Vice President and the Membership Director for the National Space Society North Texas chapter. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S., which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. Our last National Space Society North Texas chapter meeting was a holiday party at the N5BB house in Irving last Sunday, December the 14th. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter usually sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The December Space Rendezvous event will be held on Friday, December the 26th. That's right, the night after Christmas. Friday, December 26th at Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. This is on the Highway 635 eastbound frontage road between MacArthur and Bush Turnpike. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society has a monthly meeting at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. Our next chapter meeting will be at Spring Creek Barbecue on Highway 183 in Irving on Sunday afternoon, January the 11th. I do not currently know who our speaker will be. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill, N5BB, at his QRZ listed email address or at space@byrom.net, SPACE at BYROM.net. And I'll skip the spurious Apollo 17 information. That's all I got, Tom. This is N5BB. Back to net.
All right, very good. Thank you, Bill. I wondered where that information went. I had a very, as you know, we do Google Docs for all this stuff. And I had a very weird thing happen with Google Docs. I could not move a section of text, and then it disappeared. Guess which section of text it was? Well, that's it. I don't know if it's in here elsewhere, but we'll see where that all goes. All right, well, I am Net Control this evening, and the discussion topic of the evening is selected by Net Control. Well, as an Apollo fiend, somebody who loves the Apollo program, let me make sure that's working. I wanted to talk a little bit about Apollo 17 and the fact that we're going to soon have the first new manned moon mission coming up in February. Apollo 17 was the last one from 1972. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about it and some of the things that were discovered scientifically about the mission. So here we go. Apollo 17 flew from December 7th through 19th of 1972 and was the 11th and final mission of the Apollo program, the sixth and most recent time humans have set foot on the moon. Commander Gene Cernan and lunar module pilot Harrison Jack Schmitt walked on the moon, while command module pilot Ronald Evans orbited above. Schmitt was the only professional geologist to land on the moon. He was selected in place of Joe Engle, as NASA had been under pressure to send a scientist to the moon. By the way, Joe Engle was X-15 pilot, probably one of the best. Mission planners had two primary goals in deciding on the landing site: to sample lunar highland material older than that at Mare Imbrium, and to investigate the possibility of relatively recent volcanic activity, I should say. Lithrow, I always have a hard time saying that, were formations had been viewed and pictured from orbit and were thought to be volcanic in nature. Since all 3 crew members had backed up previous Apollo lunar missions, they were familiar with the Apollo spacecraft and had more time in geology training as a result. Apollo 17 wasn't supposed to be the last mission to the moon, but under President Richard Nixon, immediately after the Apollo 11 lunar landing, he decided to terminate the lunar program in favor of something new, the Space Shuttle. The remaining hardware, much of it already built or close to completion, were repurposed for the Apollo Applications Program, better known to the public as Project Skylab. The existing unused equipment, including 1 Saturn V and the final 3 command service modules, would be used in Earth orbit. That would be the lunar ones, would be used in Earth orbit, never to go to their intended destinations, the moon. What that did for the final 3 Apollo missions was to create pure science by launching the final 3 Apollo spacecraft crammed with scientific equipment and supplies to keep the crew on the moon, not for a few hours, but up to 3 days. Many weight-saving actions were taken to lighten the launch vehicle. Apollo 15 and 16 reached and explored the moon on the using the lunar roving vehicle, mapped the lunar surface, and added sophisticated science experiments. Apollo 17 would add a satellite launched from orbiting service module while the 2 astronauts explored the surface below. The satellite would gather information on lunar gravity and density. This information would be used for future missions to the moon. However, no one actually anticipated it would be another 55-plus years before we would return to the moon. Interestingly, the information from this final Apollo mission will be directly applied to the Artemis mission, the first manned mission since Apollo 17, to orbit the moon in February of 2026, less than 2 months away. Apollo 17 spent 3 days on the moon with 3 EVAs. The first was on December 11, 1970, with 4 hours after landing, and eventually set up a base camp experiments, deployed the lunar rover, and visited Steno crater, obtaining subsurface samples, planting explosive devices for seismometers left on previous missions, and then returned after 7 hours on the surface. EVA-2 was on December 12, was a 4.7-mile excursion discovering the famous orange soil, more appropriate regolith, later found to be at a lava fountain location and was sprayed with lava which is where lava was sprayed high into the sky 3.5 billion years earlier, and then on to Camelot Crater for EVA-3 was the last moonwalk of the Apollo program, visiting a house-sized boulder dubbed Tracy's Rock. Let's see if I can get the, it's just slow. Schmidt collected rock samples later identified as the oldest unshocked lunar rock, which means not disturbed by high-impact geological activity. This rock was used to determine the moon formed a magnetic core or a core dynamo. That's electricity caused by conducting fluid like Earth's magnetic core. The rock's characteristics prove that the moon had a fluid, hot inner core in its early days. Today, the moon does not have a fluid core, but does have a fluid core, but not enough for a magnetic field. The 3 EVAs totaled 22 hours and 4 minutes, with each EVA around 7 hours each. So some of the surface discoveries. The first finding was the discovery of orange soil at Shorty Crater by Schmidt, identified as 3.6 billion years old pyroclastic glass from an ancient volcanic eruptions, proving relatively recent lunar volcanism. I know, 3.6 billion years seems like a long time, but for the moon, that's fairly recent. The most famous discovery was that orange soil. It consisted primarily of 99% smooth, shiny sphericals and fragments of transparent orange glass ranging from 10 to 300 micrometers in size, or about 20% containing partially crystallized opaque material. Chemical analysis revealed a rich composition of titanium and iron oxide, along with an unusual abundance of zinc. These distinctive orange beads were formed approximately 3.71 billion years through ancient volcanic fire mountains, where molten lava was explosively ejected into the lunar environment and rapidly cooled into these small glassy grains. This discovery proved direct evidence of explosive volcanic activity and significantly advanced scientists' understanding of magnetic events in a region like the Sea of Serenity and the Sea of Tranquility. Deep core samples. Deep core samples provided samples from stable, cold zones revealing volatile elements and gases trapped over billions of years, essential for understanding lunar evolution. The mission collected 741 different rock and soil samples totaling 110.5 kilograms, including a deep drill core that penetrated 3 meters below the lunar surface. This core was extracted between Camelot and Central Cluster craters. Geological understanding. The samples helped in understanding the moon's geology by addressing pre-mission objectives such as obtaining ancient rocks from the lunar highlands. Impact history and legal composition. Cores provided insights into the frequency of impacts on the lunar surface and the composition of the lunar regolith, which is a product of billions of years of impacts. Ongoing research, some portions of the deep drill core samples kept frozen since 1973 are now being analyzed under the Apollo Next Generation Sample Analysis Program using advanced technologies. Evidence of an ancient magnetic field was found in samples called Trisolite 76535, indicating the moon once had a liquid core. The deployed Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment Package, or LSEP, provided data on heat flow, lunar atmosphere, and seismic activity. Orbital science also contributed by measuring atmospheric density, thermal densities, and subsurface structures. Researchers report sulfuric surprise in rock samples. The analysis showed that volcanic material in sample contained sulfur compounds that are highly depleted of sulfur-33, one of the 4 radioactively stable sulfur isotopes. There we go. Contrast sharply with Now there was also the lunar sounder, which was in Earth and lunar orbit on the command service module. This was giving insights into moon's crust and mantle. And I have a picture in case you're looking at the video feed. You'll see that there's the Apollo Command Service Module in orbit. Looks very different from the ones that you're probably accustomed to, as this one has a large VHF antenna hanging out of it. Looks very much like a Yagi you might have on your roof, and indeed that's what was used to help do some sounding experiments. It says here that the profile of surface and image features, successfully revealing subsurface structures like buried impact craters and lava tubes, and geological details of wrinkle ridges, confirming the radar's ability to provide detailed lunar geology beyond direct observations. Its data helped interpret mere features, showing they form from faulting and volcanic processes, and established a baseline for lunar geophysical studies. In the lunar atmosphere, experiments measured faint ultraviolet emissions, confirming the tenuous lunar atmosphere. Yes, it has an atmosphere, and its interaction with Earth's, showing leakage of Earth's atmospheric components on the moon. The operational success was it set records for the longest crewed lunar mission, longest surface stays, 75 hours, largest sample return, 254 pounds, that's a lot of rocks, and the longest distance from the spacecraft during an EVA. The number is incorrect, I don't know. It was midway between the moon and Earth. With the conclusion of the Apollo 17 program resulted in a marked change between space pioneering achievements and an aeronautical first to science and discovery as the predominant part of U.S. space program objective, while a second space race is, and while there is a second space upon us now with China and its emerging space program, NASA's newest missions objectives still put a high value on science and scientific research. From the ISS to the Artemis program to unmanned exploration of the solar system, Apollo 17 marked the last trip of exploration to the moon, but also a new area in space exploration, which has continued in manned and unmanned missions to low Earth orbit and beyond. Artemis is about to carry a manned exploration of the moon, and then eventually will go on to Mars. Manned spaceflight returns anew to missions beyond Earth orbit with sustained presence around the moon and on the moon. The legacy of the Apollo 17 program will be written with a new chapter in manned exploration beginning in February of 2026. Okay, with that, that was a little rough, but I had to put this together along with a whole bunch of other stuff, so I was getting a little slap happy. Does anyone have any questions?
NV5F.
Virginia, NV5F, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Yeah, I was this week was watching the From the Earth to the Moon series by Tom Hanks. I've kind of gotten to where I watch that at Christmas time. It's sort of become a tradition in the last few years that around this time of year I get that out and watch it. And I just watched the one on the later Apollo missions where they were training the astronauts to do geology, and they feature Apollo 17 in that episode. So, and I'm happy to say that I was born just in time to be around for the last lunar mission. I was born in October of 1972, so I'm just old enough to have been alive when men were still going to the moon, because I was born a couple months before this one. So anyway, thanks for the presentation, and I just wanted to mention that series From the Earth to the Moon. It's really, really good, and I always enjoy it this time every year. Back to NV5F.
Thank you, Virginia. And I think that's the one, if I'm going by memory, I think it's features Farrokh Elbaz in it, who talks about geology and some of the things that they were doing. Wonderful program. I love that show. It was produced by Graham Yost, who, by the way, has a series on currently called Slow Horses. I think it's a fictional series about MI5. definitely worth it. That you can see his fingerprints all over it, just like from Earth to the Moon. But we can talk about all that at 11:30. Thanks for your comments. I do appreciate it very much. And this is KE5ICX. I'm your net control this evening. We will go ahead and ask if there's any additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and your location. Okay, and hearing none, we're going to go to our next special presentation this evening, which is a yearly thing that Chaz has done, oh gosh, since the beginning of SkyNet. So Chaz, take it away, KF5JHA from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening, everyone, once again. We're going to do a video version of this as well. If you don't know about that, go to W5FC.org, click on the link for the YouTube version of SkyNet, and you can watch the video portion as well as the audio that's going on. That's why I talk about slides. And our slide master is Tom, so thank you, Tom, for doing this. Slide number 2, please. This is Chaz, KF5JHA, and we'd normally call this segment of SkyNet Was Up, but this is a special program on the Star of Bethlehem. Slide master, slide number 3. Tonight, I want to talk about the skies, not what we see tonight, nor over the next couple of weeks, or what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, but what had happened 2,000 years ago, the Star of Bethlehem. Before we delve into the science, we need to know some things. What is the description of the star, and when did it occur? To get some basic information, we need to first go to the Bible. Let's begin with the 2nd chapter of the book of Luke, verses 1 through 7. And let me do a quote starting now. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was the governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph went up also from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and lineage of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. She gave birth to a firstborn son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them. Okay, that will help us to place the star when it appeared in the sky. Also, you need to get some more information about the date and the description of the star by looking at the 2nd chapter of Matthew, verses 1 through 16. Slide master, slide number 4, please. And I quote, "After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, 'Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him.'" Some versions say in the east, so the star was in the east. When King Herod heard of this, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. And he had called together the people's chief priests and teachers of the law, and he asked them where the Messiah was to be born. "In Bethlehem of Judea," they replied, "for this is what the prophet has written. But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, will be by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel." Slide master, slide number 5. I continue the quote. "Then Herod called the Magi secretly and found out from them the exact time the star had appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, 'Go and search carefully for the child. As soon as you find him, report to me so that I may too go and worship him.' After they had heard the king, they went on their way, and the star they had seen rose and went before them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming into the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. They opened the treasures and presented him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. Slide master, slide number 6. The quote continues. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. Get up, he said, and take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him. So he got up and the child and his mother during the night and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, out of Egypt I called my son. When Herod realized that he had been overwhelmed by the Magi, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinities who were 2 years old and older or under, in accordance with that time he had learned from the Magi. And this is KF5JJ, and this is SkyNet. Slide master, slide number 7. Now, since historical figures are listed, we can find out when they lived to narrow down the time. Octavius was awarded the title of Augustus in 28 BC. His full title was Caesar Augustus and lived until the year 14. Now let's look at Herod. Herod is a title, and it's generally agreed that Herod is a part of the Bible, refers to Herod the Great. Jewish historian Flavius Josephus wrote 2 entire scrolls on Herod the Great. Many Josephus manuscripts place the death of Herod the Great around 4 BC. The famous astronomer Kepler, you've heard of him before, when he had refined the motion of the planets, decided to try to find out about the star of Bethlehem and wrote 2 books on the topic. Kepler looked at the years 7 to 4 BC and couldn't find the star. What we now understand is that the earliest manuscripts of Josephus actually dated Herod's death around 1 BC, not 4 BC. So there may have been a copying error in the later manuscripts. This gives us another 3 years in which to look for the star. Herod the Great was very paranoid about the people that were trying to kill him and take over his position. So killing only a handful of babies 2 years and younger around Bethlehem, since the area was sparsely populated, would just be a small thing to him. But would probably make Jesus being born between 3 and 1 BC. Now we've narrowed down when the star appeared. Let's figure out what it was. 2,000 years ago, the word star meant any light in the sky. So let's explore some possible explanations. Slide master, slide number 8, please. Meteors are streaks of light across the sky that last, well, it's because of friction. And it lasts only a moment or two, maybe as long as a minute. A meteor is just a small piece of debris that runs into the Earth's atmosphere, and the friction is so great that they burn up. A very bright meteor called a bolide can be very impressive. I've seen a number of bolides during my observing sessions. But the Star of Bethlehem was a much longer lasting thing. What about a meteor shower or a meteor storm? Meteor storms were frightening and usually considered to be evil rather than good. So we can probably roll that out. Slide master, slide number 9. How about a comet? Comets are dirty snowballs that when they get close to the sun form a tail of material from their melted ices. Comets could last for days, weeks, or even months in the sky. But they were considered signs of maybe a bad omen. Also, the Chinese, who were very good sky watchers, did not record a comet during the years of 3 to 1 BC. Huh. Slide Master, slide number 10. How about a nova or a supernova in the sky? Supernovas are caused by the processes of the end of a stellar lifetime. Nova are caused by a few different kinds of processes. I've talked about these processes of nova and supernova in SkyNet before. The sudden appearance of a new star in the sky could have been the star of Bethlehem. But once again, no culture recorded a nova or supernova during this time period. Huh. And this is KF5JJ, and this is SkyNet. Slide Master, slide number 11. There are wandering stars in the sky that we call planets. I regularly talk about the dance of the planets across the sky during SkyNet. The planets move in a way that was not well understood until the time of Kepler. Most of the time the planets move from west to east against the background of stars. But one or more times a year they go backwards in what we call a retrograde motion. This is caused by the faster moving Earth catching up and passing the slower planet in their orbit. It's like you passing a slower car on Interstate 635. The slower car appears to be going backwards briefly compared to the background buildings, but both you and the slower car are still going in the same direction. That is why the planet appears to stop and change direction. Slide Master, slide number 12. Now, using a computer software called Stellarium, I went back to August 12th, 2 BC. In the software, you'd use a negative in the year to indicate the BC years. By the way, Stellarium is free to download, and it works on PCs, Macintoshes, and even Linux boxes. I set the location of Bethlehem, or I could have even used Babylon. That could have been a good choice, too, since that's where the Magi originated. More about the Magi later. On August 12th, 2 BC, the planets Venus and Jupiter were in conjunction. A conjunction, we've talked about this before, is when two objects are close to each other in the sky. Jupiter is considered the king planet and Venus the woman or mother planet. Actually, this was a really close conjunction, but this kind of thing would happen regularly. So the series of events after this is really what's fascinating. Slide Master, slide number 13. On September 14th, about a month later, 2 BC, the planet Jupiter is in conjunction with the star Regulus. Regulus is considered the king star. The king planet and the king star being in conjunction is significant. But again, this happens about every 12 years. Oh well. Slide Master, slide number 14. Remember the retrograde motion? On November the 27th, 2 BC, Jupiter stops and goes backwards in retrograde. Slide Master, slide number 15. Then Jupiter passes by Regulus the second time on February the 15th, 1 BC. Slide Master, slide number 16. On March 29th, 1 BC, Jupiter stops again and resumes its regular eastward direction. Slide Master, slide number 17. Jupiter passes Regulus for a third time in May 9th of 1 BC. This series of conjunctions are really rare. Also, Jupiter has just traced out a halo, a crown, around Regulus, the king star. But one more event that makes this series of conjunctions even more unique. Slide Master, slide number 18. On June 17th, 1 BC, the planet Venus gets so close to Jupiter that they appear almost as a single object in the sky. If they had telescopes 2,000 years ago, the planet Venus would have been even closer to Jupiter than the field of view of any of Jupiter's 4 Galilean moons. This would have been appeared to an unaided eye as possibly a single brightest object in the sky that anyone had ever seen. Slide Master, slide number 19. Now, what I have not told you is that this series of conjunctions that took place was in the constellation of Leo, the lion, which is a symbol of Judah. So, as an astronomer, this all sounds like astrology. But let me propose an idea. Astrology says that the stars can determine your future, but what if it works the other way around? What if the sky is like a thermometer that just measures what is going on rather than controlling it like a thermostat? An idea, anyway. This is KF5JJ, and this is SkyNet. Slide Master, slide number 20. Author Michael Monar has written a book on which he investigates a coin with a ram and a star. This has led him to look at different astronomical events that points to April 17th. 6 BC is when he thinks Jesus is born. We'll probably never know for sure when Jesus' birth occurred, nor exactly what the Star of Bethlehem could have been. Slide Master, slide number 21. Planetariums across the world present programs every year during December about the possible explanation of the Star of Bethlehem. Of course, you can't rule out a miracle, but we don't have any way of measuring a miracle unless you build a time machine that can go back in time to see. Of course, there have been lots of afterglow movies on time travel. Yes. Slide Master, slide number 22. I have a friend that was in the Astronomical Society in Columbus, Ohio, Jay Elkes. He wrote a short science fiction story that explained the Star of Bethlehem. The story goes something like this. A present-day group of 3 scientists built a time machine powered by an exotic fuel source. The first place they wanted to go back in time was to see the birth of Jesus. They studied to determine the correct date. They knew what location. They tried to learn the languages for that part of the world during that time. They had clothes designed and fabricated to be correct for that time period. And knowing that they might have to stay there for weeks or even months, they took valuable things to trade: gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They got into the machine and pressed the button. In moments, they were back 2,000 years in the past. As soon as they arrived, they realized that their craft was leaking energy, and they would only have a couple of hours, not weeks or months, to explore. So they walked to a close-by tiny village and wandered a few streets and found a family with a newborn baby child in a small, open animal shelter. They realized this family was so poor that rather than taking their trading materials back, they left them with the family. They hurried back to their ship to find the energy leak was so great that a beam of light was projected into the sky. They barely made it back to their time frame before the energy gave out. It would be a long time before they could try this adventure again. I like that story. Slide Master, slide number 23. By the way, we don't know how many wise men or magi there were. The Bible only lists 3 gifts, so it's been referred that there were 3 wise men. It's likely that an entire caravan of people accompanied these magi. Who were the magi? There were 2 main lines of thought. The first of these were described as descendants of the prophet Daniel. There's no record of Daniel leaving Babylon after the exile and returning to Israel. The second idea is that they were Zoroastrian priests living in Babylon that were astrologers. The current Zoroastrian religion makes note of this fact of the priests traveling to honor Jesus' birth as part of their past. I've even talked to a DFW resident who is a Zoroastrian about the Magi that confirms this. Slide Master, slide number 24. This time of the year, there are many celebrations around the winter solstice, which is the shortest day and the longest night of the year. Many cultures have their celebrations involving lights. My prayer for all of you is that you spend this holiday with family and friends, enjoying the company of each other. My youngest daughter, when she was around 4 years old, said that relationships were the most important thing. Wow. We need to learn from that 4-year-old. Slide Master, slide number 25. Now, I've used several different resources in this presentation, including Stellarium computer software. You can find that at stellarium.org for free. If you want more information about the Star of Bethlehem, you can visit bethlehemstar.com. You can also check out the book, The Star of Bethlehem by Michael Molnar, Molnar. You can find it on Amazon. Slidemaster, slide number 26. Until next time, keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JJ, wishing you all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Back to Net Control. This is KF5JJ.
It's always a pleasure listening to this every year. So let me go ahead and ask, and we'll pause for a moment. Are there any additional check-ins? If you'd like to join us this evening, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move on to the next section of the net, which is space exploration and space history. That's handled by Gus, W5GUS. Gus, what do you have for us this evening from KE5 ICX?
Well, thank you, Tom. W5GUS here with the space exploration and space history this week. We'll start with the exploration news. December 13th, China, Kuazhou 11 Y8 rocket launch. China successfully launched a carrier rocket carrying an experimental spacecraft. This launch demonstrates China's continued activity and progress in space technology development and its growing capabilities in independent space missions. All right, and on December 17th, Ariane 6.6 launched Galileo satellites. Successfully used its Ariane 6 rocket for its 5th flight, deploying 2 Galileo satellites, that's SAT-33 and SAT-34, for the European Space Agency. This mission is crucial for ongoing deployment and maintenance of Europe's global satellite navigation system, enhancing its precision and coverage. All right, and on December 15th, the Hubble Space Telescope unveiled a captivating image of NGC 4535, which was dubbed the Lost Galaxy, located in the Virgo constellation. This spiral galaxy's image prominently displays numerous young star clusters and HII regions, signifying vigorous and recent star formation activity within its structure. Okay, December 16th, a new study has raised significant concerns regarding the increasing number of mega constellations such as Starlink and their potential to contaminate astronomical images. Both ground-based and space-based telescopes are at risk due to reflected light from these numerous satellites, posing challenges for future astronomical observations and discoveries. All right, on December 18th, Jared Isaacman was officially sworn in as the 15th NASA administrator. Isaacman's confirmation brings a new leader to the agency at a pivotal time for American space policy. He was renominated on November 4th, 2025, leading to a second Senate confirmation hearing on December 3rd, 2025. The U.S. Senate ultimately confirmed Isaacman on December 17th, 2025, with a vote of 67 to 30, and he was officially sworn in on December 18th, 2020. Okay, on December 20th, the German engineer Michaela Benthaus blasted off from West Texas aboard a Blue Origin New Shepard rocket, becoming the first paraplegic individual to reach the edge of space. The 10-minute suborbital flight was specially modified with accessibility features such as transfer board and an elevator at the launch pad to allow Benthaus to move more independently. She was joined by 5 other passengers, including retired SpaceX executive Hans Koggensman, who helped organize the mission to demonstrate that space travel can be accessible to people with physical disabilities. All right, we'll move on to space birthdays. Let's see, December 14th, 1936, Robert Allen Ridley Parker was born. He was on STS-9 and Spacelab 1, STS-35. STS-9 was launched in 1983, focused on scientific experiments using the Spacelab module, and STS-35, which was in 1990, was dedicated to astronomical observations with the Astro 1 Ultraviolet Astronomy Laboratory. Also on December 14th, but in 1954, Stephen Glenwood McLean was born. He was on STS-52, STS-115. STS-52 involved him as a payload specialist evaluating the Space Vision System, and STS-115, which was in 2006, saw him as a mission specialist for ISS assembly, where he performed a spacewalk and operated Canadarm2. Well, I guess that's an arm, the arm. Okay, also December 14th, but in 1960, Catherine Grace Katie Coleman was born. She was on STS-73, STS-93, Soyuz 20 Expedition 2627. Let's see, STS-73 in 1995 was her first flight as a mission specialist focusing on materials science and biotechnology. On Soyuz TMA-20 Expedition 2627, which was the year 2010 and 2011, she served as a flight engineer and lead robotics and science officer on the ISS. All right, we'll move to December 18th, but in 1934, Boris Valentinovich Volynov was born in 1934, December 18th. He was on Soyuz 5, Soyuz 21. Soyuz 5 was in 1969. It achieved the first ever docking of 2 crewed spacecraft. Soyuz 21 in 1976 was a mission to the Soyuz 5 military space station for scientific and military observations. Okay, also December 18th, but in 1951, Andrew Withel Thomas was born. STS 77, STS 8991, STS 102, and STS 114. During STS 89 and 91, which was in 1998, he spent 140 days on the Mir space station. On STS 102, which was in the year 2001, he performed a 6.5-hour spacewalk to install components on the exterior of the ISS. Okay, another birthday, December 18th birthday, Reinhold Ewald, 1956, Mir 97, and Soyuz TM-25. Let's see, Mir 97 was in 1997. Saw him as a research cosmonaut on the Mir space station, conducting biomedical and material science experiments. He also performed operational tests for future ISS missions. All right, we'll move to December 19th. Lawrence R. Young, December 19th, 1935. He was an alternate payload specialist for STS-58, and he was a principal co-investigator on 7 space shuttle missions where he conducted human orientation experiments. His contributions to space science were significant despite not flying. All right. We'll move to December 19th. 1951, Fred Weldon Leslie, 1951, STS-73, which happened in 1995. It involved him as a payload specialist for a 16-day mission on Space Shuttle Columbia, focusing on material science, biotechnology, combustion science, and fluid physics. All right, and last birthday, December 19th, 1957, Michael Edward Fossum, STS-121, STS-124, Expedition 2829. And during STS-121, which occurred in 2006, he participated in 3 spacewalks for safety and repair techniques on the ISS. On Expedition 2829, happened in 2011, he served as mission specialist and commander, overseeing research and operations on the ISS. We just have a couple things in space this week in space history. The first one is Mariner 2 successfully executed the first interplanetary mission, performing a 42-minute flyby of Venus. It passed within approximately 34,000 kilometers of Venus, confirming the existence of the solar wind. This mission marked a significant milestone in space exploration, despite its twin probe, Mariner 1, failing shortly after launch. Mariner 2 achieved its objectives. Its success paved the way for future robotic exploration of the inner solar system. Okay, in December 15th, 1965, the Gemini 6A mission launched and successfully performed the first rendezvous between 2 manned spacecraft in orbit. This historic achievement involved a close-quarter maneuver with Gemini 7, demonstrating critical capabilities for future lunar missions. The successful rendezvous proved that 2 spacecraft could be precisely controlled to meet in space, a necessary precursor for docking and space station assembly. This mission significantly advanced NASA's understanding of orbital mechanics and astronaut capabilities. It was a pivotal step on the path to the Apollo program. Okay, and last, I believe, is the December 15, 1970, the Venera 7 landed on Venus. The unmanned Venera 7 spacecraft made history by successfully landing on Venus. It became the first spacecraft to achieve a soft landing on another planet and transmit data back to Earth. Despite the planet's incredibly harsh environment, it managed to transmit data for 23 minutes. This mission provided invaluable direct measurements of Venus atmospheric conditions and surface temperature. It was a monumental engineering feat, proving that direct planetary surface exploration beyond Earth was possible. Okay, and that is it for this week. So we will go back to pass the net back to Net Control Tom and listen for Carolyn's constellation of the week. So back to you, Tom. W5GUS.
All right, thank you, Gus. And this is KE5ICX. I'm your Net Control this evening. We will not have a constellation tonight because we have the special presentation of the Christmas star by Chaz. Thank you, Chaz. And so we'll move on to the next section, which is space launches for this week. We have on December 21st, tomorrow, a SpaceX Falcon 9 launch of Starlink 6-88. This is from Launch Complex 40, or SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral. This will be another batch of Starlink satellites launched into low Earth orbit. December 24th will be the launch of LVM-3. That's called Bluebird Block 2 number 1 from the Satish Dhawan Space Center in India. This launch will carry an AST Space Mobile satellite, Bluebird broadband service directly to unmodified mobile phones on Earth. This mission represents a significant advancement in mobile communication connectivity, aiming to eliminate coverage gaps and extend communication services to remote regions worldwide. And that's it on that one. Next up is satellite passes, and these are just rather meager. Let me reset. There's times where we don't get a lot of reflection off the satellites right now. So I've only got 2 passes. This is for Tiangong. That's it, December 18th. Well, guess what? I can't do these either because they've already taken place. So there are no passes worth mentioning. If there is anything, they're very low on the horizon. But you can get additional information on all of these by going to the website heavensabove.com. And you can put in your longitude, latitude, or your city, and you will get customized information for your location. It's a great site. There's a lot of additional materials now available there, which includes what looks like the International Space Station's orientation above the Earth, as well as what you can see down below if you were on the station. Pretty cool stuff. There's also some other 3D renderings there of orbit. Okay, let's see here, unless I'm still communicating. All right, I think we actually, believe it or not, are about 7 minutes early this evening. Does anyone have any questions or any final check-ins? Please come now. This is KE5ICX.
This is November 8th, Whiskey Romeo. And 8 WWR, Romeo and Grapevine. I'm going to talk to you. Late checking. Thanks for running that.
All right, very good. We got Romy and 8 WWR over in Grapevine. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and close it down. Let me get my count here. We've got 17 check-ins this evening, including Net Control. That would be me. And we want to thank you for all who participated this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration, because on this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net controls for this and all the other DARC nets. And if you heard my announcement earlier, believe me, I need a couple of net controls or readers or presenters. You can send an email to nets@w5fc.org. Showing your interest. You can also follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:24 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. But never fear, at 10:30 or in about 5 minutes from now, it's 10:25, we will begin the Afterglow Movie Net. We'll be talking about the Christmas Twilight Zone from the rebooted Twilight Zone from 1985. There's some very interesting trivia attached to that, and it does attach directly to the original show, including a couple of actors. So with that, we'll say 7-3, and look forward to having you here again next week. This is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, closing the net and saying 7-3. Good night, everyone.
Normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Good evening, everybody. It's 10:30. It's time for the Afterglow Movie Net. And per Tom's request, after running SkyNet, his voice is tired, and he asked me if I would be the net control this evening. My name is Virginia, and my call sign is NV5F, and I am going to do just that. I'm going to run the Afterglow Movie Net. This net is... I haven't run it in a while, so I'm trying to remember what it is, even though I'm here every week. Basically, it's open to any and all, and we stay up late and talk about a movie every week. It's usually a science fiction movie. It's sometimes bad, it's sometimes good, and during the holidays, our fearless leader, Tom, usually picks something Christmas or holiday related each week in the holiday season. So this week we have a holiday treat for you. This is how it works. I will take some check-ins, and then I'll give you guys a synopsis, and we'll take check-ins of anybody who wants to join the net. You don't have to have seen the movie or show. Tonight it's going to be a show. But please come with your name and your call sign and whether or not you saw this evening's movie, which is the Christmas Twilight Zone reboot from the mid-'80s, Christmas 1985, and it had 3 different segments. The first segment is called Night of the Meek, and the second segment was called But Can She Type? And the third segment was called The Star, and this ran on December 20th, 1985. That's what we watched this week. So when you check in, come with your call sign, your name, tell me whether or not you saw the movie. If you didn't, that's fine. If you want to stick around and participate, we can ask you at your turn in the round whether you think this is something you might want to see. Or you could just give us any comments you might have related to this show or the Twilight Zone or Christmas movies you like, whatever. We just like to talk about movies. So, and the way we're going to do this, we normally do 3 rounds. The first round is usually plot, and then the second round is acting and characterization, and then the third round is usually special effects or music or trivia or anything you want to talk about. But tonight we're going to do it this way. Since there are 3 segments, we're going to do a round for each segment. And in your turn, you can talk about the plot, the characters, the acting, the special effects. And Tom, I'm hoping that you'll bring all the trivia because you are a big fan of the Twilight Zone and all of its iterations. Before we do each segment, I'll read the synopsis of the segment that we're going to do. So if you would like to join the Afterglow this evening, please come now with your call sign, your name, and whether or not you saw this evening's offering, which is the Twilight Zone Christmas episode from 1985. Please come now.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray. You knew I'd check in. Tom, in Corpus Christi. And yes, I saw them all many times.
Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform Sierra, Gus, Dallas, I saw, I think it was the original Twilight Zone, black and white, about Christmas. And I don't know if, I can't remember if I've seen the 1985 Tri-series there or not. I did not see it recently, though.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill in Irving. I saw the first two of the three sections. So I started watching the one about the on the spacecraft or whatever the last one was, but I didn't get very far into that. But I did fully watch section 1 and 2 in 5BD.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean, Fort Worth. Yes, I did see these mini shows.
Okay, so far I've got K5ICX Tom. Yes, he saw the show. W5US Gus, he sort of saw it because he thinks he saw the original of the original Twilight Zone Christmas one. One of these is based on that, one of the old Twilight Zones. Next we had N5BB Bill. He said yes, he saw the first two of the three. And we got KB9SOK Sean, and he says yes, he saw it. Are there any more check-ins for Afterglow? Please come now.
This is Whiskey 5 Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Springtown.
Okay, I got W5EDB. David, did you see the movie this week?
Yes, I did. I saw all three, W5EBB.
Okay, and I'm Virginia in V5S, and I saw them too, and listen, we have a pretty good group to start with. Hopefully a couple more usual suspects will trickle in later, but this is a good group. So, Tom, you get to go first. You don't usually get to do that because you're usually running the show here, so, and that's good because you're going to bring the trivia. But before we start, I will read a synopsis. Let's see. This is the 1985 Twilight Zone episode, Night of the Meek, is part of the revival series of The Twilight Zone, which aired on CBS from 1985 to 1989. It was the 13th episode of the first season and originally aired on December 20th, 1985. The episode is a remake of the original 1960 Twilight Zone episode of the same name, written by Rod Serling, and was adapted for the 1985 series by Rockne S. O'Bannon. It was directed by Martha Coolidge. The story centers on Henry Corwin, a department store Santa Claus played by Richard Mulligan, who is fired from his job after drinking during his shift. Despite being dismissed, Corwin discovers a magical bag that grants people the gifts they most ardently desire. When his boss, Mr. Dundee, played by William Atherton, accuses him of stealing expensive items, Corwin is arrested, but the bag is found to contain only garbage. After being released, Corwin uses the bag to give Mr. Dundee a mink coat for his wife, which some critics argue shifts the tone of the original's emphasis on simple, heartfelt gifts to one of materialism. The episode concludes with Corwin ascending up a chimney, symbolizing his transformation into the real Santa Claus. The episode is part of a triple bill episode that also includes But Can She Type in the Star? Okay, anyway, this was I'll admit this was an AI cobbled together synopsis, and I think doesn't get some of the exact details of this quite right. But hey, AI. Okay, Tom, you're first, and bring the trivia, please. K5ICX from NV5F. It's all yours.
Well, thank you for Virginia, and thank you for taking the net this evening. Yeah, between Chaz and I, we started losing our voices, but I think I'm mostly recovered now. I did pick this one. It's a favorite of mine as far as all three stories are concerned. I originally saw this the night that it was on television in 1985, and I was a huge fan of this first reboot of The Twilight Zone, although there was a movie in 1979, I guess technically it was the first reboot. This particular story I loved. I remember the original. I think it had Wally Cox as the if I remember correctly, as the Santa Claus or the gift bearer. This story is written by Rockne S. O'Bannon, which a name should sound familiar, but not everybody always remembers. But you remember all the stuff he's done. He's the guy that came up with 5 original television series. He did Farscape, Sequest DSV, Defiance, Cult, and Alien Nation, of which I've seen 4 of the 5 shows that he mentions here and enjoyed all of them. So really great. He cut his teeth on Amazing Stories in 1985 as well as The Twilight Zone in 1985. This episode, of course. It was made a little bit longer, I think, maybe a little shorter, I guess, because there's 3 stories from the original Rod Serling teleplay, but he added quite a bit on his own and made it his own. I found it quite good. I enjoyed the fact that the people chosen were perfect. Richard Mulligan played Richard Mulligan, of course. William Atherton also played, I think that's the guy that always plays the bad guys and everything, including in Die Hard. I get some of those actors mixed up because they're not in the wheelhouse of movies that I normally would see, so I don't always recognize those individuals. But at any rate, all very good, very Christmassy, and they really brought things together in a really nice way. I thought that maybe I had lost my Christmas spirit because in the end I've seen these things so many times, but it had been, I don't know, probably 3 or 4. And in the process of watching it again, I kind of got that little feeling of Christmas again. I thought it was cute. Like many Twilight Zones, you don't have to explain what happened or why. All you know is good things happened on this one, and a good guy ended up making it work. He found his way out of being a drunk and being somebody who could bring joy to others. And, of course, the message is that anybody can do that if they really want to. You don't have to be Santa Claus. You can bring joy to somebody else by giving love and giving happiness, which is what this holiday is supposed to be about, at least part of it. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think I like this story actually a little better than the original, though the original is pretty cool. And I'm sure somebody will talk about it. We actually had live reindeer in the original. This one did not. We had sort of weird special effects that weren't very good. Oh, by the way, on the special effects side of the house, 1985, there were 2 things that were going on at the time. One of them is a action or primetime television was moving towards sort of to video, but not quite. There was a lot of editing that was being done back then in 1985. Star Trek was an example of that, Star Trek The Next Generation, where you would film, you would do film for your live action, and then you would add special effects. So, and all of your editing would be done on video. So these are high definition in film that would then be transferred to standard definition television, and then your special effects or not so special effects would be added on top of that. It was a much cheaper way of producing shows, and you could do more with less. So special effects on shows like Twilight Zone and Star Trek: The Next Generation relied on this for their productions going forward. So I guess that's what I've got. I really like this one, a thumbs up. I enjoyed Night of the Meek, both versions from KE5 ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Appreciate that, and thank you for all the added tangent information that you usually have from your science fiction fantasy encyclopedia brain. Okay, Gus, W5GUS, based on what you've heard so far, is this familiar from the version you saw? Did you see the original of this particular one, and do you think you might want to see this one?
Well, thank you, Virginia. W5GUS here. Yes, it is the original one that I think is the original one that I saw on television, Twilight Zone, and I would like to see the 1985 remake, I guess, of that, the one that I saw. It was very good production quality. Art Carney was the Santa, was the department store Santa, alcoholic. He's kind of very thin fellow, and so he looked really different in the Santa outfit. It just kind of hung loose all over him. So he and his heart really wasn't into being Santa Claus. He was just doing it for the money at first. The production values were really good, I think. It was black and white television back then, but no zoom lenses. Everything was like the turret lenses, either close up or medium, like that. Audio was very good. The set was a pretty big set. They had, if I remember right, there was even a car on the street. It's snowing in a lot of the scenes, and right across from the department store was the neighborhood bar where people knew him in the bar there. So he would go in the bar, and these little street urchin kids that were out playing on the streets, I guess it was New York, they would stick their noses, up to the glass windows and wipe the frost off the windows, look in there and see Santa and get all excited. So yeah, it was. I would like to see the remake of it. This one was really good. Like I said, good photography, good lighting. The black and white lighting for black and white is actually really harder than for color in a lot of ways. And it had snowfalls and street, like I said, the street scenes. He did have a big bag that he pulled gifts out for the kids. And I don't remember the ending being where he was going up a chimney. I don't remember that as an ending. I think it just ended just sitting down on the street curb and waxing philosophic about Christmas, and that's what Christmas is all about. It's not getting, it's giving presents and things like that. So I would be interested in seeing the '85 version, but the first one, I think I'll probably like more. But I'd like to find out the other one too. Okay, back to Net. Thanks for choosing these, Tom. Back to you, Virginia. Thanks for doing the Net. W5GUS.
Okay, thank you, Gus. I appreciate your your memories of that original version. You have a good memory. And that'll be interesting to compare if anyone else down the line here has seen that original one as well. Next we have Bill in 5BB. What did you think of Night of the Meek in B5?
Hi there, Virginia. This is in 5BB. I saw the 1985 version, and I liked it. And this one, Gus, the Santa Claus was a very, very poor, essentially drunkard. At the start of the movie, they were looking for him, and he's in the bar trying to find some way to get a drink without any money. But he's drunk up all his alcohol. He has nothing left. So, and he's pretty skinny. So, like you say, the Santa Claus suit is very loose on him also. And in this story, he's taking some trash out, I guess, to throw away, and suddenly he hears some jingling bells kind of going above him, like maybe Santa's sleigh is up in the air somewhere, and there's a magical transformation, and his bag suddenly is producing toys endlessly. He just pulls them out, and they produce whatever toy somebody needs. So that's that story, which I really liked. And then the next one was the secretary, Pam Dauber. I like that story also. She goes to an alternate universe, and then comes back again. No, excuse me. She goes to an alternate universe, finds she's really accepted there as a secretary, comes back again and is not accepted, so she goes back to the alternate universe so she can get a new job. And the machine that changes this is a copy machine, which is a big monster one, which, you know, those big monster machines were comparatively new in the early to mid-'80s. I mean, the machine that did everything. And it was one of those big, huge machines with some weird buttons on it that she just randomly pressed. Anyway, that's all I saw. It's IBB.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And we're actually going to talk about the second one, the secretary story. That'll be round 2. We're doing one segment per round. So do you want to say anything else about the Night of the Meek? Because we're not going to do the normal 3 rounds. We're going to do everything in discrete segments this time.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I'd walked out of the shack for just a moment when you gave the directions. I apologize, Virginia. I felt the production values were good enough. It was like a made-for-TV looking movie, so it wasn't fancy. The acting was sufficient. The story was great. And the special effects were sufficient for 1985 TV. It was okay. Again, it's something you watch at Christmas time, and it's a good, uplifting story, and it was fun. So, thumbs up for me. Again, it wasn't anything big and major. It was just a short little uplifting story in 5BB.
Okay, glad you liked it. I liked that one too. Let's see what Sean thinks. KV9SOK. Sean, what did you think of the first segment of our episode this week?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yes, I enjoyed this one. Out of the three, this was my favorite, actually. I think it's the most Christmassy. And yeah, we have our classic tale of, obviously, our almost Scrooge-like character, the department store owner, and then he kind of around at the end kind of comes around to maybe understanding that there's more than just profits. Typically on here we complain about sometimes the movie goes on too long. Well, this one is, we say it should be more like a Twilight episode. Well, we finally got a Twilight episode, so now it's perfect in timing, perfect in pacing, nice simple story. Yes, we didn't get deep backgrounds, but we didn't need it. You could actually kind of fill it in. So the story was well written. As everybody's mentioned, it's already a redo. It seems like I very, very vaguely remember some point in time seeing the original on a rerun, but I don't remember enough of it to truly compare it. But yeah, I thought overall this was very well done. Just a nice, fun, happy ending story. I thought it was well acted. I think it was well cast. And yeah, I agree. Special effects were efficient for the time. Back in those days, it still would have just been good old 480p, and you probably wouldn't have noticed that they were pretty basic, but that's okay. That really wasn't what the story was about. So yeah, I'd give this one a definite thumbs up. Back to net, KV9SOK.
Okay, thank you, Sean. That was a good synopsis. Very, very to the point. And next we have W5EBB. David, what did you think of Night of the Meek from 1985?
This is W5EBB. Thanks for running the net, Virginia. I noticed on the title sequence of this iteration of Twilight Zone series, it looks a lot like the Night Gallery, with the fisheye lens and eerie images and pitch-bendy music. But this is a good, pleasant Christmas collection, campy and innocent. So in the opening scenes, we see a bright light in the sky, the Christmas Eve night skies. Is that Comet 3I Atlas, or maybe a searchlight from a helicopter, or a bright headlight from one of those last remaining drones that were harassing people in major cities a few months back, or maybe just the sign of a Christmas miracle? I'll go with the latter. Yeah, Richard Mulligan's Santa looks like he might smell like beef and cheese and booze, like the elf Santa, but he quickly turns the page and turns into a good Santa. This isn't merchandise, they're presents. I don't really think Mr. Dundee qualified to be on the nice list. I think he might have been on the naughty list. And I barely remember the wireless phones back in the day were that big, but I guess they were. I enjoyed this short episode. It's a good example of engaging storytelling where you don't need a team of 100 CGI artists to tell a good story. W5EBB.
All righty, thank you. That was succinct and packed with very well expressed opinions of this. I appreciate that. And is there anyone else who would like to get on the list for Afterglow? We are doing the Twilight Zone Christmas episode from 1985, and on round one we are talking about the first segment in that, which is Night of the Meek. If you'd like to get on the list, please come now with your call sign, your name, and whether or not you saw this week's movie. Okay, it's a silent night out there. I wish Chaz was here. I just made a bad joke. Okay, well, it's my turn, and I'm going to, of course, do what Tom usually gets to do, which is kind of tangent off of other people's comments. I liked this. It was a very simple story. It was literally 15 minutes long, because back then, and even now, a TV episode is about 45 minutes, so that basically means they had about 15 minutes to tell a pretty complex story. I mean, it was simple, but it had a lot of elements in it, and I think it was done very well. It was probably very difficult to write these segments back then because it's hard to write a good story with a beginning, middle, and an end that lasts only 15 minutes long. You have to be a pretty good screenwriter to do that. I liked the plot of this. I've not seen the original, so I wasn't exactly sure where it was going. They established the character of what's his name? Henry Corwin. They established him pretty early on. And also they established the fact that even though he was poor and drunk and doing the only thing he could do to make money at Christmas, he did care about children, and he especially cared about the children that weren't going to get anything for Christmas. And he was trying to be a good Santa, you know, despite his problems. He was trying to do his job and pay attention to the kids in the department store. And he knew that their parents were going to make sure that Santa brought them everything they wanted, but he was already, you know, expressing his concern and heart for all these poor kids, I guess, because he was kind of a poor guy and he lived in a poor part of town. And then I liked the scene where, you know, he gets after he gets fired from his job as Santa, you know, he goes home and he's still wearing his Santa suit, and he looks out the window and there's these kids out in the street caroling, and he honestly, you know, tells them he wishes there was something he could give them, and he doesn't have anything to give them either. And then he decides to take out the trash, and as soon as he walks outside, it's all kind of eerie and quiet. All the music is suddenly gone, and I think he drops the trash bag he's carrying, and he sees toys falling out of it, and he realizes that it's not just a trash bag full of trash anymore, and, you know, wackiness ensues. I thought it was pretty predictable that his boss, you know, drives by and sees all the commotion, and I was like, yeah, he's going to assume that this guy has stolen all this stuff from his store. That wasn't terribly surprising, but I liked how they didn't drag that whole misunderstanding out, and it was kind of two guys, both had character arcs. You know, he became Santa, which is sort of it was kind of like a very abbreviated version of the Santa Claus movie, which came out way after this. But and I liked that. I liked that it was like the deep goodness in his heart, you know, the depth of his heart made him the perfect person to be Santa. And I liked it. I liked the ending. I liked the reconciliation with the boss, and, you know, the boss kind of turning into a nice guy at the end, which that guy usually does play. He played the news reporter on Die Hard. He's just kind of this unctuous, annoying sort of, you know, smarmy, full of himself guy, and he was the head of the physics department in the movie Real Genius, who was taking advantage of the college kids, you know, building the big laser. So yeah, he was perfect for that part, and he did a good job. I liked the acting, and I mean, it was a good example of how, you know, the special effects were that kind of composite, TV budget compositing, video compositing that they had gone to. And probably, you know, Gus was discussing the original version of this, and, you know, it didn't have the polish that I think the original, you know, Twilight Zones would have, because the TV budgets back then were pretty slim, and you could tell it was the neighborhood parts where you could tell they were all shot on a dark back lot, and, you know, but it was a good little story, and it didn't matter that the effects were a little hokey looking. And it was just very heartfelt, and I enjoyed it. I've had trouble feeling Christmassy the last several years at Christmas, and the last week or so, I've started to feel a little more Christmassy, and things like this definitely helped. And I know Tom will cringe when I say this, but this evening I watched the MST3K version of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians because it's a great MST3K Christmas episode. It's very, very warm and fuzzy overall. So that's my take on Night of the Meek, which is our first segment. I enjoyed that very much, and it was very 80s. I also love that. And I am Virginia, ND5F, and I am your net control for the Afterglow net this evening. And we're going to head on to the next segment in our Twilight Zone Christmas extravaganza, and that one is the one about the secretary. It's called But Can She Type? It's an episode of this 1985 revival of the Twilight Zone, and it was written by Martin Pascoe and Rebecca Parr, and it was directed by Shelley Levinson. It stars Pam Dauber as Karen Billings, a secretary working for an unappreciative and clueless boss. The story centers on Karen, who, after being pressured to produce 20 copies of a proposal at the last minute before Christmas party, it was actually 35 copies. Come on, AI. She uses a new copier with unfamiliar controls. When she leaves the copier lid open during a second copy, she is transported to a parallel universe where secretaries are highly respected and treated like CEOs. In this alternate reality, Karen is celebrated for her work ethic and is offered a prestigious job with world travel, highlighting the theme of unrecognized labor and the desire for appreciation. The episode is noted for its clever premise and subtle touches, such as the copier's button suddenly altering her timeline. Jonathan Frakes appears as a single man who admires secretaries, a role that preceded his rise to fame on Star Trek The Next Generation. This episode is part of, and this is just talking about what it's part of the first season of Twilight Zone from 1985. So, let's get on to So Can She Type? Tom, what did you think of this segment from ND5F?
Well, hi again, Virginia. This one I liked. I really did. When I first saw it, of course, I remember Pam Dauber from Mork and Mindy, so I thought it was okay. She was okay in that, and when I first saw this the first time, I thought, she's going to be okay in it. She actually handled it and held it together quite well. I thought she was quite engaging and fun to watch, and the story, and being as short as it was succinct and to the point. We got to the alternate universe, and we all know in the alternate universe world that, especially when it comes to the Twilight Zone, you get an opportunity to get your just rewards, whether you're a good person or a bad person. Bad people get their just rewards too. Well, this one was a good one, as similar to the first story, where we're purpose to doing something that you really wanted to do. In this case, you got recognized for what you do. And I don't think there's anybody on the planet that doesn't appreciate ultimately, whether they say it overtly or don't say it and keep it internal, is a good administrative aid, somebody who helps. They don't call them secretaries anymore, nor should they. They are administrative aides. And individuals that do this for CEOs get paid handsomely and deserve to be. As you go down the management levels and mid-management and first level managements, where that position is still even filled, individuals can make or break the person that they work for. So it's nice to see that, and I think that they push that out in a very great and forthright way. It was good seeing Jonathan Frakes. The first time I saw it, I didn't know who he was. I knew he was in North and South, I think. That was about it, but I never really saw the entire series. But then after I had a miracle of beta tape, I had a beta machine, not a VHS, I had a beta machine. and had taped this when he finally showed up in, 1987. He went, hey, that's Jonathan Frakes with a beard. So he was, in the first season of Star Trek, he did not have a beard. He shaved it off and then brought it back in the 2nd through 7th season and every other iteration of Riker he's ever done. So that was his default thing that he likes to do. So he was good in it as well. There is some trivia. There is I found this over on the website. I think there you got part of the AI scrape. What they did. There is a character in there called Amzi Strickland, who was in the original Twilight Zone story, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. One of the crowd people with just a few lines, I think. I seem to remember seeing her. But this will not be the only cameo that we'll be talking about from one of these 3 segments. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was nice and short. One of the things that I like, let me reset.
Where did you go, Tom? Are you in the Twilight Zone? Okay, that's very odd. Tom decided to reset, and I guess Echolink decided to reset as well. Let's see. One more time. Tom, are you out there? KE5ICX from NV5F. All right. Hopefully Tom will find his way back, and we can hear the rest of what he wanted to say about the 2nd segment. Next we have Gus, W5GUS. Do you have any thoughts on, is this segment, does it sound familiar? Do you think you saw this episode in 85, or would you like to see it from NV5F?
Well, thank you, Virginia. W5GUS here. It vaguely does sound familiar, but I don't remember much about the secretary with the big copy machine. So I would like to see that just because I think it would be interesting to see that, and even the 3rd segment as well. So I am... it's about my bedtime, so I'm going to have to sign out and pass everything over to you guys. Once in a while, I get a chance to stay up late like this and listen to the movie reviews, and like to hear and see some of them. So now I will pass it back and wish everyone next Saturday it'll be post-Christmas 2025. So hope everyone has a good Christmas, and I will pass it back to you, Virginia. W5GUS, back to Net.
Okay, thank you, Gus. I appreciate it, and I hope you also have a Merry Christmas, and thanks for your thoughts this evening, and I will mark you QRT. And we'll see if Tom is back. KE5ICX, Tom, are you back with us?
Yes, I am. Apparently the program blew up, and it took a little while for it to say it blew up. So, yes, I'm back. KE5ICX.
Okay, do you want to continue your discussion of the first or the second segment? You were about. It sounded like you were had something specific you wanted to say, and then you said you decided to reset, and apparently the software decided to do the same thing.
Go figure. Oh, okay. The only thing I was going to add is there was an actress in this played the cleaning woman in there. She's in it like for half a second. That was Anzie Strickland, and she was from an original Twilight Zone story, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. If you remember that one, it's a whole group of people that are transported to another world, and they take it all out on the guy with the ham radio set. You can remember that one. But she was just one of the people that was rather upset about the thing on the street, one of the innocent bystanders. But there's another one coming up that we'll be talking about on the next segment that also is an alumnus from Twilight Zone. That's all I had. KE5ICX.
Alrighty, Tom, I'm glad you found your way back, and we'll look forward to the next trivia for the next segment. Next we have Bill, N5BB. Your detailed thoughts on the secretary and her giant copy machine.
Thanks, Virginia. This is N5BB. I think Tom went to an alternate universe, just like Pam Dauber. He pushed a button there, and suddenly he lost his keys, and he realized what happened, and he came back again. Anyway, for those that didn't see this or that missed this key little plot thing, when Pam Dauber goes in to make all the copies originally, and for some reason it only makes one less than what she needed. I don't know if it's because she entered the wrong number or the machine didn't produce quite as many. Who knows? Anyway, when she first goes in there, she's carrying her purse or some kind of bag. I think it's her purse. And out of it drops on the floor at her feet her house keys. And she doesn't notice this initially. So she makes all the copies, but she pushes a button that ends up transporting her into an alternate universe a little bit later. Let me say this. She makes the copies initially in Universe 1, our current universe. She takes them back to the room, notices there's one busy. She goes back to make that one more, but when she does that, she pushes the button that transports her to the alternate universe. So she then goes and takes that last copy back to the desk, only that one copy in the alternate universe, and then she heads off to this party where she was trying to meet a guy that I don't think she knew what he looked like, so she was looking for whoever that guy was. And so she goes to this party, and she didn't need her keys. So this is a big city, so she either walked or took a subway or something. She didn't need her keys. So she goes to this party, and she sees all these people. She describes what her job is. They ask her, and she's rather embarrassed to say, well, I'm just a secretary. And all these people say, whoa, a secretary, oh, all those neat skills. You do all these interesting things. You make copies, you take people's schedules, you You do all the things they need to keep their life together. You're amazing. And so they all, talked to her about her job, and she was describing it. And finally, this guy comes over, this older guy that looks like he's the CEO of a company, and he says, I need you in my company. And I want to put you in my European office. And so anyway, she gets his card, his business card. She puts it in her purse. But she couldn't find the gal she was going on the date with, the guy. She couldn't find the guy she was trying to go on a blind date with. So she goes back to the office, and she goes in and realizes there's one copy missing. Remember, that copy was delivered to the alternate universe. So she goes in to make this additional copy, and the machine shines lights in her eyes again. So it moves her back to the original universe, and her keys appear under her feet, and she accidentally steps on them, so she sees them down there. So anyway, that's the weird storyline of this. And then when her boss comes in the next day and berates her and just real horrible to her, she goes into the copy room. They're getting ready to take that big machine away. She says, oh, no, don't take it away yet. And she activates it to, I think she's making the extra copy for it. She activates it, and she gets transported to the alternate universe where she uses that business card, and now she can call the guy. In the regular universe, she couldn't call him because he didn't exist. In the alternate universe, she gets with him, and he says he's going to move her to the European office, pay her a pile of money, and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, this was a neat story. This is what everybody wants to hear. It's what everybody wants to hear if they're in a job that's going nowhere. They think they're appreciated. Their boss wants them to work on Christmas Eve. It's just, all these kind of things. And sure enough, she gets out of it with this alternate universe machine. No explanation for where this machine came from. It makes copies, too. It's got weird buttons on it with people's faces on it and things. It's kind of odd machine. But there's no explanation about how that machine appeared. So that's I wish they'd done something to tell us where the machine came from. But I thought the story was cool, and Pam Dahlberg did a fine job in acting, and the other people did too. And not a very long story, but a fun one, and a good Christmas story because she didn't want to work on Christmas Eve. N5BB, back to that.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Yeah, I think this one was pretty fun, too. It was the same as the first one. It was a lot of story in a very short time. They did a really good job. Okay, next we have Sean, KB9SOK. What are your thoughts on, what is this one called? But can she type? That's what it's called. NV5F.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, I enjoyed this one as well. This was my second favorite out of the batch. I liked it almost as much as the first one, actually. Once again, it was just a very tight, quick, straightforward story. Christmas, it was, it was tight to Christmas, but not super tight, other than just the whole having to work on Christmas Eve. So yeah, it is kind of strange of all things that a copier could send you to an alternate dimension. It's definitely Twilight Zone kind of thing. I guess it's no worse than a hot tub time machine, I guess. But just kind of funny. It's what they chose. But yeah, as Bill already mentioned, this is just a story of, we've all been there, not felt appreciated by the bosses, and this is just that story. It's everybody's felt that way, and and especially if you've ever been yelled at work for, you know, and you know that you're doing a great job anyway. So yeah, it just, you know, her finally getting what was really due, because she was good at her job. You know, the story, overall, I really liked it. The only thing I would have kind of liked to see, just a tiny, tiny tweak, and maybe it really wouldn't be in the Christmas spirit to do it, but I would have kind of liked to see her boss get something, you know, I don't want to say negative happen to him, but it would be nice if he'd learned a lesson in this as well. You know, like in our first movie, you know, we had two people that had a path, and this one, it really was just her. But anyway, other than that little minor thing, yeah, it's well acted. Yeah, I thought she did a good job as the lead, even though I can only think of her as Morgan Minty. This is mostly what she's famous for. And of course, we had Riker on there, which that's kind of fun too. It's funny seeing him in any other role. So yeah, all in all, enjoyed it. Not much else to really add. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. And we'll be looking forward to what you think of the third one of this. Next we have W5EBB David, your thoughts on So Can She Type from 1985.
All right, thanks, Virginia. But Can She Type? Today this episode would have had to have been renamed But Can They Keyboard? The IBM XT or AT personal computer, the 5 1/4-inch disk drives, and the dot matrix printer, that was an enviable setup for 1985. An esteemed secretary to party, wow, and the bearded version 2.0 Commander Riker, definitely A-listers in attendance. When she's first introduced at the party as a secretary, everyone flocks around her, bends an ear as though she had said, "Well, my broker is E.F. Hutton, and E.F. Hutton says," if anybody remembers those commercials. In her kitchen, we see 1985 period pieces, an original Mr. Coffee, a rather bulky cassette tape answering machine, and a standard black corded telephone and handset. I miss dial tones, but I don't miss long-distance charges. In the final scene, as she's being whisked off in a luxury car, I couldn't help but notice the door lock and unlock stem on the interior of car doors that look like silver golf tees, easily defeated by a wire hanger. Ah, what strides we've made since then. Unless, of course, you've got one of those cars with the thief-copyable key fobs. The W5EBB.
All right. I like your notes. Short and to the point and very, 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 very topical. Is there anyone else who would like to join Afterglow for round 2? We're doing 3 segments in 3 rounds from our Twilight Zone Christmas episode. If you'd like to join Afterglow and check in, please come now with your call sign, your name, and if you saw this week's movie. Okay, all's pretty quiet out there. Well, I will have to say that the disgruntled secretary was a very common theme of the 1980s, early to mid-80s, as we moved from things like 9 to 5 to something like Working Girl. We got a lot of this kind of theme, and I thought this was a good take on it. I don't mind that the copy machine was just magical and no one knows why, because that's kind of presumed when you're watching the Twilight Zone, that something weird can happen. They set up the weird or the magic as early as possible so that it's understood that, you know, the Twilight Zone is upon whoever is being affected. And in these first 2 segments especially, it came upon people who were basically good people who were kind of being kind of downtrodden, and it was, it was working in the Twilight Zone was working in their favor. I do feel like this was only tangentially Christmassy. It's as if they were like, well, we've got this plot, we need a Christmas episode. Well, so we'll just say she's going to a Christmas party, which also works because that can be like the boss. They can play her boss as a big Scrooge who wants her to work her butt off on Christmas Eve and make a ton of copies. And this did come out, and it's not really time travel, but it has a little hint of that sort of Back to the Future alternate universe, kind of thing where, there's all these things that hook together, and you can just kind of go through this process and your life goes from being crummy to being great. And yeah, it's the same thing. I thought as before, they did a lot of storytelling, because she goes to work, she's at work, she's got to make copies, she's got to stay late and make copies. She puts them all on her boss's desk, and as she's doing it, she counts them, and she's short one. She goes back, she goes to get her 35th copy, and that's the magic copy, and she just runs and throws it on the desk and heads to the party, and maybe not noticing whether there was even 34 other copies there waiting for her, because by that time the Twilight Zone had entered the room. And and so they have a whole fairly detailed segment of where she's back in her normal reality, I guess, the next day, and her boss is all mad at her because she's short one copy, and she's talking to the guy. I think she's talking to the guy that she was supposed to meet at the party, and he was wondering where she was because she wasn't at the party in her version of the universe. And yeah, she tries to call, the guy who gave her the business card, and that's no number, no listing for that, and then her keys are, and then she figures out, she has this whole segment where she actually, in a very short order, has to figure out that she was in a different world, and that the magic copy machine is what got her there, because she realized when she came back and her keys were not there, and then she made a copy and her keys were there, and then she realized that's what transported her back. It was a really complicated little story. I thought it was good. I liked it. I liked the acting. Generally the people who played in TV back then were TV-level actors, and they did a good job. And TV was TV, and movies were movies, and every now and then a TV person would break into the movies, but all those TV people were, they did good at their stuff in TV, and this one similarly had some composite effects and some just lighting effect, just kind of bright lights and those kind of things act as special effects. But it was a simple story that was neither required special effects nor a lot of Christmas things to, but yeah, I liked this one, and I liked that she, just decided to quit her job and make those guys leave that copy machine so that she could go back to where she felt like she belonged. And David, I have to give you props for the E.F. Hutton reference. I did get it because in 1985, believe it or not, my dad worked for E.F. Hutton. So, and I do remember all those commercials. So, yeah, that's funny. I appreciate that. So, let's. This is Virginia in V5F, and you're listening to the Afterglow Movie Net. And the next round, final round we have, is going to be the Star. And this one is decidedly Christmassy, and it is this segment is actually based on a story by Arthur C. Clarke, and it's a story called The Star, was first published in 1956, and it was adapted for television by Alan Brennert, and it was directed Jared Oswald. This story centers on a lost alien civilization whose history is preserved on an asteroid. When humans discover the cache, they are astonished by the advanced morality and technological reach of the extinct race. The narrative unfolds through a philosophical conversation between Father Matthew Karsigan, portrayed by Fritz Weaver, a Jesuit scientist grappling with existential guilt, and Dr. Chandler, played by Donald Moffat, who attempts to offer a more hopeful perspective on the civilization's fate. The episode is noted for its talky, reflective tone and its exploration of religious and moral questions, particularly regarding the existence of divine purpose in the face of cosmic destruction. The teleplay diverges from Clark's original story by offering a more hopeful ending, which may affect viewers differently depending on their beliefs about religion and the Bible. The episode features strong performances from Weaver and Moffat, both of whom were veterans of Rod Serling's original series, and Tom will definitely bring the trivia on that one. So let's start with Tom on the Star K5ICX. What'd you think of this one?
Well, thank you, Virginia, and thanks for the synopses, too. That's very helpful. Yes, this is actually a story that I used to read from a compendium of Arthur C. Clarke stories. He used to do that. He would release a few dozen, a dozen short stories in a book, and he did so many of them, and the Star was one of them. And I made it a habit after a while that I would read this one at Christmas time because of the surprise ending in the story is basically the same. Oh, it's similar. And then when Twilight Zone did the episode The Star, and it said Arthur C. Clarke, I went, oh my, it's the story. So I was very excited about it, and I enjoyed it. It's only 10 minutes long. It's very, very, very short. But, yeah, the two people in it, I didn't look up Donald Moffat. I'll have to do that. Fritz Weaver was the guy that I recognized almost immediately. He is an actor that's done tons of stuff in his career. He's since passed on. But he's best known, he did 2 episodes of Twilight Zone, the original series, one in 1961, both in 1961, I guess. Third from the Sun, about a comic war and leaving Earth with family to get away from it all. But the one, and that's okay. He played William Sturka in that. But he's really great in the Obsolete Man, where he plays the Chancellor, and he gets Burgess Meredith holds him up in his apartment because he's no longer relevant to society, and he ends up trying to take Fritz Weaver out. So, and he just really is masterful. The two of them on stage together in that episode. It's a favorite of mine. So you got to see it if you do. But that's Fritz Weaver. He's a very distinctive look. This story, 10 minutes long. Another example of you don't need a lot of time to tell a story and to get it through. You know, we talked about the Star this evening, and this is, of course, what that story is about. Let me reset, and hopefully I'll be back. I thought it was well played. It is obviously low budget. There's not a lot there as far as special effects, but it still holds a near and dear heart. Of course, the whole angst that comes out of it is, and the irony that goes with it is perfect for a Twilight Zone story. And you got to really ask yourself, and this is what they ask themselves: is would a God go and wipe out a whole civilization in order to help another civilization? That's a really interesting moral story. And I think, too, one of the things that's interesting about it as well is it also brings up if we do find life outside of Earth, how does that affect religion to a certain extent, and does God extend beyond that? Well, you get into the metaphorical and the whole, how does that play out when Earth is center of the universe? It sort of takes and knocks it into another potential debate, much like with the Earth was the center of the universe, and then we moved the sun to the center of the solar system, and Earth is just one of the planets. That really kind of does a little mind game with people back when that was the realization and it became reality. And I would think that if there is some sort of intelligence found, or on the other hand, even life elsewhere off the planet, it's going to be mind-boggling and mind-changing. And I think and I kind of digress a little bit here, but I think you're going to find that might just indeed happen in our lifetime. I think it's entirely possible, and with the amount of discoveries that are being made every single day, I think we've got very good odds that that's going to happen. Can't believe that there'd be a universe this large without others in it somewhere. So I digress a little bit. Those are the things I wanted to mention about trivia and all that. But I enjoyed this story quite a bit. I always enjoy all three of these stories whenever I watch them. Now that I know that they're available again, my VHS collection or beta collection have long since disappeared. I gave them all away when I moved down here. But this is a favorite, and I'm glad that it's available online. KE5 ICX.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I, too, remember reading this story around the time that this came out. I don't remember seeing this episode, but I was very into Arthur C. Clarke during this period of my life in the mid-'80s, and I did have the book that had this story in it. He released quite a few short story collections, and I do remember reading this one. And my mind was kind of blown because I was like 12 years old, and I thought it was really cool. Okay, next we have Bill in 5BB. Bill, you said you didn't finish watching this one. Did you start it? And if so, does this make you want to finish it from ND5F?
Yes, this is N5BB. You're right. I did not see more than just the first minute of this. I just ran out of time while I was doing some of the things. But I do remember the story, so I probably remember reading it. I'm looking here that this story, called The Star, was first published in November of '55. So I probably read it somewhere along the way, or I may have even seen this Twilight Zone episode somewhere. I don't strongly remember seeing it, but it's possible I saw it. It was a long, long time ago. So I do think that when I finish here, I'll go back and I will look at that immediately. Yeah, I guess that's it. Let's see. Whoops, later dramatic. It says the original story has a negative note. This version has a more upbeat ending. Okay, that's all I got in 5BB.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Appreciate your thoughts on that. Yeah, it's a very short segment, so you should probably be able to watch it before you hit the hay tonight. And I know that if I had known there was a adaptation of that story or anything Arthur C. Clarke, I would have remembered seeing it, but I don't think I saw this episode. I know I saw some of these new Twilight Zones when they started doing them. I was more of an Amazing Stories person, but I do remember watching some of these, especially in the first couple seasons. Okay, next we have Sean, KV9SOK. Your thoughts on the star?
Yeah, this is KV9SOK. Well, I'm not sure I could go in any more depth than Tom did on this. Very well covered. I didn't read the original short stories that you and Tom had read. It sounds like maybe those went into a little more detail than what our story did in this little 10-minute episode. But, yeah, once again, they did pack a lot of info in a short period of time as they did in the other stories. We had the conversation back and forth between our two main characters, one with, a religious view and one with a little more of a science view. So, yeah, I do think it was well done, well acted, and a lot was covered there. The only reason, to be honest, I ranked this one out of the three my least favorite is just, for one, I didn't have the tie to the original written story, but two, I'm just going to be honest here, and I'm not a real religious person, so it just didn't have that big of an impact on me. But I did like the conversation that they had, so I still liked it. I definitely give it a thumbs up. I definitely give all three stories a thumbs up. So, yeah, this was a really little fun bunch of stories. Enjoyed it very much. It was appropriate for right before Christmas, well picked, and we'd just like to say Merry Christmas to all. Hope you all have a really good Christmas, and enjoy the net as always, and looking forward to the next one. Back to net. This is KV9SOK.
Okay, thank you, Sean. You also have a Merry Christmas. And next we'll go to David, W5EBB. Your thoughts on the third segment here?
All right, thanks, Virginia. Well, presuming this is set in the future, and if these voyagers aboard the Magellan had watched the Alien series, they should have been aware of the fate of the starfaring crews of the Nostromo, the Prometheus, the Covenant. That is, it is unwise to stop by any planet or planetoid emitting a beacon of any format, be it radio, subspace, superspace, tachyon modulated, Times New Roman. You might risk subjecting yourself to a very unwelcome face hug upon arrival. Now, the seemingly advanced society they found maybe weren't all that advanced after all, evidenced by the star charts handwritten using marks-a-lots on transparency sheets. And what happened to transparency projectors? I miss those too. The original artwork was good, though the people looked like maybe they had drunk too much of Aunt Beru's blue milk. Now, then again, you might sort of step back and think maybe this was all a dream, like the Star Trek The Next Generation Inner Light episode, and the only physical relic left over was a Resican flute, or its equivalent prop here, a music cube. But it's interesting to look back at these, I guess what are now considered period pieces from the 80s. For those of us who were adults at the time, we see all the lower tech items with some nostalgia, but also with the realization that what we had then worked fine for the most part. And if all the new technology that came later just disappeared, I think we'd be fine with corded phones, cathode ray tubes, VHS tapes, and dial-up internet. Okay, maybe not the dial-up internet. But that's all about those episodes. As an aside, as this is the first net I've had participated in a while, I do wonder what Brenda would have had to say about these episodes. We all miss her. W5UVB.
Oh, thank you, David. Yes, we do miss Brenda. We definitely miss her here, and we certainly miss her over there on SkyNet. It's going to be a different world and a different universe without her here. This is an especially hard time of year to lose somebody like that. Well, I think it's sufficiently late that I'm doubting we have any more check-ins, so I will give my thoughts on the star. I am a believer. I've been a believer all my life, and I was a believer when I first saw 2010 and 2001 and discovered Arthur C. Clarke, and I missed the innocence I had back then, because I could see what he wrote and said here a lot more objectively than I do now. He was also not a religious person. So Sean, if you want to try to maybe find the original story of this, it might be a little more resonant with your point of view. Arthur C. Clarke often found ways to kind of explore sort of what he would, I guess, conjecture were the causes behind what people consider to be miracles or UFO sightings. He was always looking for an explanation, and of course his explanation of the Star of Bethlehem would have been that it was a supernova, that was short-lived and that was just timely for what was going on, or may have even brought people to the conclusion that something was going on when nothing was going on. But anyway, in fact, I think he even wrote an essay or two on that. I think I read something about, he wrote long discussions of the causes and the explanations for things that seemed miraculous or supernatural, or like aliens coming from, other planets or whatever. And for me, this didn't fail, it didn't fail to feel Christmassy, because in a universe where good and evil exist, there also is the possibility of tragedy and loss, and and when a hurricane hits, the coast of Mississippi or North Carolina, it's not that God did that to all those people. It's just that's just the world and the universe we live in. Bad things happen to good people. Tragedies happen, and they're allowed to happen because that's just if everything were good and perfect all the time, we would never have to make any choice about what kind of person we were going to be. And I think that has to do with disaster and difficulty as well. Lives don't go quite the way we hoped they would, or bad things even happen. And I liked the philosophical thing here, where when the priest figured out what this star, the star that had destroyed the civilization, what it had meant to people on Earth, he was very torn, and he was very he was shaken to the foundation of his faith, and he had to figure out for himself how that paradox could possibly exist. And it's a good thing to think about, I think. It's hard. It's not easy. So, yeah, I liked the way this was handled. It makes me want to go back and read the original story and see what the differences are. I think that Tom, you'd probably be able to describe the differences better since you've read the story, repeatedly, and probably definitely know it better than any of the rest of us. What were the changes they made to make it more of a plot for a short, sci-fi fantasy episode? But I thought it was well done, and I think it was objectively done, and I think that as I recall, I think Clarke's story was handled objectively. He has written other things that I don't think handle religion very objectively, things that are even kind of dismissive and condescending towards people who believe and what they believe. And I'm of the opinion that belief and science were meant to go together. I don't have a problem with both of them existing in the same space. And so I liked this one. It was very short. And I think it was just the right length. If they had tried to make it longer, it would have probably needed more of a plot, and that would have probably been difficult to do and still make the point here. So, yeah, I enjoyed this. I thought the acting was good. I thought the visuals of the stars and the universe and the galaxy and all the grandeur of the universe were also excellent. And I thought it was a good ending for this episode of The Twilight Zone. So that will end our 3 rounds and for the 3 segments of this. Does anybody have anything to add? Any parting shots or anything you forgot to say about any of the segments? Tom, if you want to comment on the differences between the episode and the Clark story, that'd be great. Any parting shots or any last-minute check-ins for Afterglow, please come now.
KE5ICX.
Yes, Tom, go ahead.
Well, I hate to disappoint. I'm racking my brain on what the differences were, but it's been so long. It's probably been I got out of the habit of reading the story about 10 years ago. I mean, I'm 67 years old. I was reading it when I was a kid. I've kind of lost what might have been different on this, and it's been several years since I've seen this version that was this teleplay. But I'll look into it. I'll let you know next time we're together, which will probably be next week. It's so short. I don't think there were any main beats that were lost. Maybe a further discussion. It still has the same devastating ending at the end, and the angst that the chaplain goes through and all of that. So I guess there's that. So I'll let you know. But thanks for doing the net this evening. I appreciate it. And I'll let you know what the next movie might be for next Saturday.
Okay, so I assume you're going to send the movie out in email, as you typically do, and I guess it'll be also on the new Facebook group, which is called the Afterglow Movie Group, I believe is the name of the Facebook group now. Okay, well, we had a pretty nice little group, and I didn't know if we were going to do this, but we managed to make this short, sweet little episode of Twilight Zone last all the way till midnight. So appreciate everybody coming here and sharing your thoughts on these Christmas gems that to me were lost and mostly forgotten. I don't even think I ever got to see these when they aired. So thanks, Tom, for a good selection this week. Very uplifting, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas, and hope to see you all here next weekend, where there will be some kind of a fabulous movie. I wouldn't mind if it were still holiday themed, since it is still kind of technically the holidays next week. But Tom, I'm sure you will pick us a winner. All right, everyone. Have a great week. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great week, and we'll see you here next weekend on the Afterglow. This is Virginia in V5F, closing the net and turning the repeater back over to regular amateur use. Good night, everyone. 7-3 in V5F.
This is N5BB. I just want to jump in before everybody leaves. I want to remind everybody that this coming Friday, the day before our next SkyNet, we're having the Space Rendezvous. The National Space Society sponsors it, but anybody can attend. This is going to be on Friday evening, December the 26th, the night after Christmas, at 6 p.m., Cheddar's Restaurant in North Irving on 635. I don't think that Tom is going to come from Corpus Christi just for this, but I'm hoping some of you locals will come. And Virginia, if you would like to go, I would come over and pick you up. So just let me know about that. And I invite anybody else that wants to come to this to come on over to Cheddar's Restaurant on 183 in Irving 6 p.m. this Friday evening, you'll find some people that care about space stuff. If you have any questions, contact me at space@byram.net or N5BB@ARRL.net. And that's it. Good night, N5BB.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I appreciate that announcement, and I'll sure give that some thought for next Friday night. Everybody have a Merry Christmas in D5S.
Okay, I picked a movie. I really wanted to do V for Vendetta because it takes place in the year 2026, so we could have future present, but I can't find it anywhere. Probably the alternative will be Dystopian Earth from 2048. Sounds like a real winner from Sci-Fi Central, SFC, over on YouTube. I'll take a look and see if that's appropriate, but just wanted to let you know. All the other films that I had in the list, I think everything's expired for the end of the year. I just kept looking and the links were closed or shut down or not available, and those were mostly YouTube stuff or films that had been already shown and done their run on the local streaming services. So I need to replenish and rebuild the list for 2026. So that's what we got. I'll send the note out. Anybody out there listening, you can get on the list. Just send an email to me, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX@yahoo.com, and say you want on the list. And I'll put you on there, and I'll send you a confirmation email. Okay, off to bed. 7-3, everybody. Have a good evening. KE5ICX, clear.
Hey, Tom. K5ICX N5BB. I found a weird movie described on TV, and it's just pretty darn weird. So you might look it up. It's a 1953 color movie called The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, as in Tango. The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. And it's a pretty weird one. N5BB clear.
All right, Bill, I'll look into it. That sounds vaguely familiar. We might have seen it. You would think with a weird title like that I would remember it, but I think this was from several years ago. I'll go look it up. I'll definitely put it on the list. Certainly the 50s are always fun movies to watch, but I'll check it out and see what I can find out. Thank you. See you later, KE5ICX. I'm clear again.
Okay, Tom. The main writer of this movie was Dr. Seuss. That's right, Theodore Geisel. But this is way back in 1953. So this is pretty wild, evidently. I've not seen it, but I've read about it, and it's pretty interesting, I think. But I don't know if it's a good movie. Anyway, we will see you next week, one way or another. I will be in Austin here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then I'll be back in Irving for Christmas Day and next weekend. I hope you have a good time down there in Corpus Christi. It's going to be very warm up here and probably down there on Christmas Day. K5ICX and 5BB, and say hi to Randy.